Hi everyone, this is Melanie. I read a book and I learned some things. The book I read this last week-ish was Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. This was my first book that I've read by this author. So I ate this book up in like 2 days. What else are 2 days off of work for, you know? It is written really well. Not just the premise, but how the premise is set up keeps you hooked. I want to jump right into it, first by explaining a little bit about what it's about. Kindred is about a young 26-year-old woman, Dana, who is living in 1976 in California with her husband, Kevin. She's moving in, they're moving in together when something happens. She is transported all the way back to the early 1800s in the antebellum South, and that is where slavery was happening. Pretty rough place to be going as a young black woman, and she's sent to save a young boy from drowning. This boy's name is Rufus, and her response is to save him even though she doesn't know what's going on, and then figure out what's going on. And over the course of the book, she is transported back in time and then back forward, and it's a whole thing. This book it's about survival, because that is the experience of a slave as far as I can understand it. To really jump into what I learned, I don't know that I can really go into race, because if I was sent back to the early 1800s, maybe as a young defenseless woman with no physical strength to my body at all, I might be in danger there. But I can imagine her experience was, and I know it was, traumatizing. It would be for a person who would be considered property in that time. I don't want to go into race simply because I don't know what discussion I can have about it that is truly understanding and empathetic of the experience. I read it and it was horrifying. This book should in some way make you uncomfortable. That is the large direction I felt it going. I was uncomfortable, and not everything was, was okay. Just because Dana was being good and trying to help people doesn't mean she was always rewarded for it, or if ever rewarded for it. Maybe kept alive a little bit longer, but surviving isn't enough of a reward for being a good person, Some things I learned and things I loved about Octavia E. Butler's writing. So her female characters, as far as I understand, are amazing. More people have said that than me, because I've only read one main female character by her. The other female characters in the book are wonderful, but Dana stands out because you're experiencing her experiences. This book is in first person, so the contrast between that and third person would be so different, and I'm so glad it was first person. Dana is tough. She's courageous and compassionate, I think is how the book describes her, or something describes her somewhere. I can't remember where I saw that. I thought that was a good combo, because really, she's tough and she fails a lot. She's also caring way more than she probably needs to be or deserves to be to other people who do not care about her. She fights for people because of survival. It helped me feel like this female character was never standing around saying, look, I'm a female character, I am strong. She just was. She was dynamic and had a personality, believe it or not, that filled a room all on its own. The decisions she made were right for her, even if they failed. They were true to her. I just think I can't wait to read more female characters from her, because I didn't ever feel like I was having to be like, check off, yeah, what a great strong woman. It was just like, watch this woman survive the entire time. There are characters in this book who aren't gray, but your perception of them is. So it's really kind of scary and intimidating to feel like you want these characters to do what's right or whatever, but you know that that's not who they are. But even Dana feels a little bit of that hope most of the way through. And another thing I learned from, was interested in, is the introduction of the premise of her being sent back into time. she only knows that it's happening to her when she starts to feel dizzy and kind of black out, and that's her transition from present day to the early 1800s. It's not in her control. It's not that we have control over the weird time travel magic stuff that's happening. It's that when it happens, we have to deal with it. And that's what makes this terrifying. That tension bleeds into the rest of the story, waiting to know, am I going to go back home? Am I going to return to this mansion in the antebellum South? Am I going to have to deal with this horrible time period again, and not knowing when it's going to happen, if you're going to be separated from your loved ones? What a great way to use the premise. She terrifies me. From the prologue, I was like, what? Prologue's very intense, by the way, in that she intends to scare you, to make you feel like this is how serious this is, and this is where it's going. The tone is set straight in Kindred. It is terrifying. You are going to be fighting for your life here with Dana. It's scary, and it's very isolating, all that, very effective, and I loved it. So those are some things I learned. Honestly, like, I just read this book. It's great. If you haven't gotten to her yet, do it, because, you know, her writing is so well paced. Even those moments when you're feeling like, oh, this is getting a little bit easier to deal with, you're like, but what the heck is gonna happen next that's going to ruin my life? That's it. These are some things I learned. Perception of characters may be gray because of your relationship with them. I can't completely understand the experience, but I'm grateful for the perspective from first person with Dana. I think she's a powerful female character, a powerful Black female character, a person of color that I've learned a lot from, and that you can scare the crap out of your reader by not giving them the why and the how, just the fact that it will happen, watch out. I highly recommend Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. She is and was a genius. I am very grateful to have experienced her work, and I am so looking forward to more. Thanks for watching.